You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
About an hour before this marathon started between Syracuse and Boston College, in case you missed it, Syracuse basketball beat Boston College in triple overtime 95-86. The Orange announced an hour before tip-off that Donnie Freeman will miss the remainder of the season. He is scheduled to, quote, have a procedure next week. Donnie Freeman, a five-star freshman, the highest-ranked Syracuse basketball recruit since Carmelo Anthony, has not played since January 4th. And that's that for Donnie Freeman as a freshman with Syracuse basketball. Now, I do want to say this. The report from Syracuse does clarify that Donnie Freeman is actually injured. He is legitimately hurt. He did not quit on the team by any means. This is not an NIL dispute. He is going through a procedure. That means he is actually injured. And the good news with that is he's expected to make a full recovery and return to basketball according to the school. Now, for some context, some background behind this, in case you have not been following this situation, as I told you earlier, Donnie Freeman is the highest ranked Syracuse basketball recruit since Carmelo Anthony in 2002, and he was playing well in the first 14 games of the season, which ends up being the final 14 games of the season that he will play, hopefully not for his career. He averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds, 50% from the field, and 33% from the three-point line. Overall, he was a net positive on the court, despite him not really being the greatest defender in the world. He's probably Syracuse basketball's second best player when healthy. Right before the Georgia Tech game, which was on January 7th, Donnie Freeman was ruled out with a lower right leg injury, and the school said that his status was day-to-day. Obviously, he's not day-to-day. Am I upset that that was the initial diagnosis and he ends up missing the entire year? Absolutely. But something went wrong. Either Donnie Freeman couldn't recover from the injury as fast as they hoped, or it was simply a misdiagnosis. I mean, a few weeks ago, Adrian Autry was saying that Donnie Freeman wasn't doing any weight-bearing activities. That signaled to me that he's not close to returning to the court. We know the answer now. At least we have clarity. Donnie Freeman will not play for the rest of the season for Syracuse basketball, which now leaves the million-dollar question. This is the question that was not answered from the Orange. It has not been answered from anyone, really. What is the future of Donnie Freeman? Donnie Freeman has three choices. He can return to Syracuse basketball next season. He's got plenty of eligibility. He was only a freshman this year. Donnie Freeman could also decide to go pro. He can go to the NBA or the G League. I know that there will be some of you who comment based on the last podcast I did about Donnie Freeman saying that he's nowhere near pro. I promise you, if Donnie Freeman wanted to go pro next year and play in the G League, he absolutely can. Teams will draft on traits, not necessarily on ability, and I do think that Donnie Freeman has the ability to at least be a G Leaguer next season, at the very least. Or there's option number 3. Donnie Freeman could transfer. That is on the table. I don't know if he will, but it's on the table. You have to consider that an option. You never know. We did the same thing with LaQuint Allen in December when talking about, is he going to go to the NFL? Is he going to return to Syracuse? Could he possibly transfer? That was really unlikely that he would ever transfer, but their choice became pro or stay in Syracuse. He ultimately went pro. But Donnie Freeman, you have to put it out there that he could transfer. Of course he can. It's in his right. It's well within his right to enter the portal. My guess is this. I think Donnie Freeman will test the NBA draft waters. See, the good part about basketball is it's a little less strict than football in terms of declaring for the draft. You are allowed to declare for the draft, go through a combine, talk to teams, and then make a decision as to whether or not you want to stay in the draft. In other words, you can declare for the NBA draft while maintaining your college eligibility. An example is Judah Mintz in 2023. He did exactly that with Syracuse basketball. He announced he was going to go to the NBA draft, but keep the door open of potentially returning to Syracuse, which ultimately he decided to do in 2023. Now, last offseason, Judah Mintz did not leave that door open. He decided he's going to the pros. He's going to gamble on whether or not he's drafted, but regardless, he's in the G League now. He's going to play professional basketball in 2024, 2025, rather than return to school. Sometimes you will see players declare for the draft and enter the transfer portal at the same time. All that is to say, I would find it pretty hard to believe that Donnie Freeman, who came in as a top 5, 10 player in the country, I don't think he was ever top 5, but he was number 6. As the number 6 overall player in the country who was playing decent for Syracuse basketball, all things considered, I don't think he underachieved. I don't think he overachieved. I think he met his expectation level in terms of when he was actually on the court. I find it hard to believe that he won't at least test the NBA draft waters. Now, whether or not he decides to keep the door open and return to Syracuse or decide to enter the portal, I don't know. What I do know is that Syracuse basketball in their upcoming high school recruiting class, they did recruit a power forward. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? They got Sadiq White, a 4 or 5-star player. He's kind of a quasi 4 or 5-star, 6'8" power forward, elite defender in high school. I think he's going to be really good for the Orange next season. Who knows? Who knows if that helps or hurts the Orange in regards to Donnie Freeman. I hope that game, I believe it was Florida State, his last game. I really hope that wasn't the final game for Donnie Freeman in a Syracuse uniform, because I would love to see what he looks like on a team that actually is successful, a team that actually wins. I think he could be really good. I genuinely do. But we don't know. That's the $1 million question. What is the future of Donnie Freeman? And that's something that we will find out in probably the next month or so when the season eventually ends for the Orange. And that's when the portal madness really starts to begin.